Good evening, my name is Arveen Afshar, and if you turn the camera around, you'll see my two audience members. So today, I'll be performing my informational speech about earthquakes. And the purpose of this speech is to inform you, my classmates, about their dangers and what to expect when one occurs. So for a second, close your eyes and imagine the buildings around you collapsing, the world around you ripping apart, roads cracking, and utter chaos ensuing. Now open your eyes. Be grateful that is not happening right now, because what I just explained to you was a great earthquake happening. I grew up in California, where micro-earthquakes are very common, and it being normal to have my classroom rumble minorly for a few seconds. The reason you should care about this speech is because it's important to understand what causes earthquakes and what to expect if one occurs. And today, I will be answering these simple questions. What is an earthquake? What causes an earthquake? How are earthquakes measured? And why are earthquakes bad? So as I mentioned before, I grew up in California where micro-earthquakes are very common. And that is because of the San Andreas fault line. In 2022, Michigan Technical University's engineering department explains that the Earth's crust is made of several different pieces called tectonic plates. And these plates are always moving, bumping, and sliding against each other at about the rate that your fingernails grow. Faults are the most common areas where earthquakes can occur, and like I said, growing up in California, there's two plates that meet, the Pacific tectonic plate and the Atlantic, and they meet right at about the coastline of California, which is where the San Andreas fault line is. In 2021, the United States Geological Survey explains that an earthquake is caused by a sudden slip on a fault, and since tectonic plates are moving slowly, they sometimes get stuck at their edges due to friction, and when the stress on the edges overcome that friction, earthquakes release waves of energy that cause the rumbling in the earth that you feel. The magnitude of an earthquake is how we measure an earthquake, and we use the Richter scale. So, for example, on the Richter scale, if an earthquake has a magnitude of 2 or less, that is a micro-earthquake. And on the other end of the spectrum, if an earthquake has a magnitude of 8.0 or greater, that is a great earthquake. This information was provided by the Government of Canada on April 6th of 2021. Another great danger of earthquakes is aftershock and subsequently foreshock. So aftershock is just when an earthquake occurs and days to years later a minor earthquake occurs in that same position. And foreshock is when an earthquake occurs and then a superseding large earthquake occurs, generally right after that earthquake. So basically, if an earthquake happens, it's very likely that it will cause another large earthquake. Earthquakes pose many dangers to human life, and according to the Institute of Geological and Nuclear Sciences Limited, located in New Zealand, some of these dangers include ground shaking, which can cause dams, buildings, telephone poles, and other infrastructure to collapse. Tsunamis, which is caused by oceanic plates causing water to create huge waves, which can destroy cities and small towns. Earthquakes can also cause landslides and rockfalls in urban or remote areas, and land deformation, which could completely destroy roads and make using cars to get out of the area an unviable option. So, in conclusion, an earthquake occurs when tectonic plates are bumping and moving slowly into each other, and they get stuck, and the friction gets broken, and that creates energy which causes the earth to rumble. Earthquakes are measured in magnitude using the Richter scale, and some of the dangers that are caused by earthquakes are rock slides, landfalls, tsunamis, and ground shaking, and land deformation. Also, fault lines are the most common areas for earthquakes to occur. So if you're ever thinking about moving or buying a house somewhere, check if there's a fault line in that area, because you could experience earthquakes more commonly than other folks. Thank you for your time. My name is Arveen Afshar, and that was my informational speech.
Woo!
How long was that?
For when you have to do